Hello there, friends. This is Spencer Michaud. Today we're going to be talking about the new moon solar eclipse in the second decan of Libra. I hope that you're having a wonderful afternoon. I've been having an eventful one here myself. The power went out uh, about 40 minutes before this live stream. So I'm coming to you today via my brand new battery backup generator here in the back. You can see here. This was a pretty nice purchase that my partner and I made a few months ago, and it's coming in handy. So we'll try to be efficient with our time today. I think we have plenty of juice in the battery backup, but we don't want to run out of power. Yeah, just as this is the nature of things lately. But I wanted to make sure that I was here for all you today and broke down the new moon solar eclipse. So if you're here with me today, please let me know that you are here in the chat. Put a little message in the chat here on YouTube. Let me know where you're stopping in from. Welcome a few of my friends here. Always love acknowledging wonderful people in the chat here. Tracy's here. Says hello, Spencer and Lovelies from Greenbush, New York, California grown. Nice to see you, Tracy. Hope everything's going well your way today, my friend. Robin is here. What's up, Robin? Says hi, Spencer and crew. Robin here from Healdsburg, California. Excited to hear more about the eclipse in my first house. Oh my goodness, Robin. Yes. It's going to be a big one for you, friend. Going to be a big one for you. Hope that you're doing well out there in California. And yeah, we'll break all the eclipse data down for you and get you ready for this eclipse coming up on October the 2nd. So we'll check that out in a minute. Before I do that, I have a few announcements. This is enrollment season. So I have a number of class offerings for the fall of 2024. And if you will indulge me in a minute, to learn about some of these class offerings, we are getting very close to the beginning of class starting. So check this out. We've got a number of offerings. We've got the Decan Walk, the 24-25 Decan Walk is going to be starting on October the 7th. So I hope that you'll join me for that. This is an excellent offering if you are someone who is looking for a witness to your journey for an entire year. We're going to meet twice a month for an entire year on Monday afternoons. There is going to be the breakdown of each of the 36 decans. We're going to connect your chart to your lived experience, and you're going to get to witness the journey of a number of other students in class, so you can see how the decan themes are going to play out not only in your own chart, but in other people's charts as well. It's a great opportunity to learn about astrology through practical connection and practice. We become a little family over the course of the year, so if you're looking for some support through the ups and downs of an astrological wheel turning, this is the offering for you. You also get all 12 of my Decan webinars, over 30 hours of content where we talk about tarot, fixed stars, mythology, etc. You get a Decan workbook where you can go through all of your insights and reflections. You get a digital Decan workbook that's going to help you throughout the year, and digital Decan flashcards if you're wanting to learn more on the fly and need a helpful learning tool. So check that out. That's the Decan Walk. That's going to be an entire year. We're going to start on October the 7th. It was a really great time. I made a lot of great friends. I really do consider my Decan Walkers family at this point. So if you want to, be a part of our little crew, you are more than welcome to hop on board. Send me an email at spencermichaudastrology@gmail.com if you have questions. Payment plans are available. If you're struggling financially and you need some sort of sliding scale, don't be afraid to reach out as well. I just want people to be able to benefit from this knowledge, no matter what their station is in life or the circumstances right now. So that is our Decan Walk 24-25 that's starting on October 7th. Also have a beautiful series of webinars starting with my beautiful partner Tanya Andrews of Third Coast Mojo. We are going to be doing a planetary dignity and devotion webinar series where we are going to be looking at each of the 7 traditional planets in depth, connecting it to their dignities and how they function within the specific signs and dignities. And we're going to be looking at how to remediate some challenging placements and how to connect to the planet through a devotional spiritual practice, and how to do astrological magic. Tanya has an excellent astrological business and knowledge base where you can find her at Third Coast Mojo on Etsy. She's going to be joining me and bringing all of her process, all of her tricks of the trade, all of the ways that she connects with the planets. You're going to get an enormous amount of depth if you want to connect with the planets in that way. And it's good for you if you want to just learn about the mythology of the moon, how to work with your own natal planets. And if you have a planet that's maybe it's in its fall or in its exile, how do you work with those planets? Those are always questions I get, is how do I work with these exiled planets? And hopefully we'll have the guiding light for you in that. So that starts on October the 12th. That's every second Saturday of the month for the next 7 months. You can sign up for all 7 and get a 10% discount, or you can just sign up for one. You also get a beautiful coupon for my partner's Supermoon box set. She's going to be putting together box sets for each planet, and you get 50% off those box sets if you sign up. So please take advantage of that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tanya's an excellent teacher and communicator and astrological mage, so I'm super excited to be able to share her wisdom with you. And then finally, we have a book club, a guided group study that is starting on October the 14th. And then we're going to be going down into the world of Middle Earth. We're going to be going on a Tolkien journey, starting with The Hobbit. We're going to start to connect the mythology of Celtic and Norse cultures with the themes that we see presented in The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, hopefully eventually. We're going to be talking about the charts of Tolkien, the charts of the release of the book, how it connects with our personal journey, and we're just going to have some fun reading this book together and talking fantasy literature. I think it's going to be a super great time. We're going to have a new mythological archetypal set of themes to discuss that we can connect with our charts. I think that we lean very heavily on classical Greek mythology, archetypal astrology, Greek themes, but there's a whole world of mythological themes out there, and I think Tolkien did one of the most amazing feats, I think, of the 20th century. He was able to create an entire mythos around these stories, and those mythologies can help us through our day-to-day lives as well. So if you enjoy these books, if you're a fan, a lifelong fan, or if you just wanted to get into it, this is a great opportunity to do so as well. We're just going to have a lot of fun with it. So check that out. That is our guided group study, The Hobbit, hopefully the first in a journey down the Tolkien road. And then finally, if you're just like, you know what, Spencer, I just like to do all of it. There is a fall 2024 class bundle where you can do the Decan walk, the Dignity and Devotion webinar series, and the guided group study, and you will receive a bonus free 2-hour Mythos natal reading, a $300 value. And if you sign up for that, you can do payment plans, whatever it is. Just reach out. There is a package link on my Book Now button at my website, spencermichaud.com, if you want to sign up for the entire package. We have a couple people who've already taken advantage of that, and it is super exciting to see people coming on board for our journey. So hopefully, if you're interested in all this, I'm trying to help give some extra added value to it. And I hope that you'll join me for that as well. All right. And finally, if you just want to check out the Decans of Libra, that is on sale for 20% off right now. This is a 2.5 to 3 hour webinar where I go through all of the themes associated with the 10 degree sections, the 3 10 degree sections of Libra, and Libra themes in general. So check that out. A great opportunity to pick up those while they are on sale. All right, I'm going to check back in with our chat. Ooh, we got an active chat today. I love this. Love it, love it, love it. I'm going to welcome more friends here. Okay, we've got Steven's here. All right, Steven, what's up? Says, hello all, I'm prepared for the upcoming eclipse on October 2nd. I'm glad that you're prepared. We'll try to break it down for you, Steven. Steven's got Libra on his 11th house, so maybe a new start with friends, groups, associations, people that you share a belief system with potentially. Robin says, the Decan walk is awesome. I definitely recommend this class. Yeah, Robin is a Decan walker and an integral part of our community and family. And hopefully he'll be joining us again for year 2. Reach out, Robin, if you want to get signed up for that. Let's see. Thomas is here. What's up? Tom says namaste. All nice to see you, Tom. I think joining us from San Francisco, sunny or rainy San Francisco, wherever it is here now. Let's see. Let's see. Tracy is also a Libra rising, so this is going to be a big one for our Libra rising friends for sure. Mariana is here. What's up, Mariana? Mariana says, hi, Spencer. Hi, community. I believe Mariana is joining us from Argentina or is displaced in some other European country? Question mark? I don't know. Are you still in Argentina? Mariana, it's nice to see you, though, and I hope that everything is going well with you and that you're staying safe wherever you are. Mariana says, these eclipses are already hitting strong. Gemini rising. My heart is in pain. Oh, no, Mariana. I'm sorry to hear that. We'll try to contextualize it for you. I will say, Mariana, that the fall season I think has been hitting pretty hard. We basically had Venus, the dispositor for the Libra sun, move into its exile in Scorpio almost immediately after the sun ingressed into Libra, and it just felt heavy. I've been feeling some sadness myself, friends. I've been kind of reflecting on some of the things that we've lost. We just transitioned over to the dark part of the year. It is a time for reflection. It is a time for, kind of taking stock of our year. I spent a lot of time yesterday thinking about, some of the past, and I recently lost my mother a few years ago and kind of went down a trip down memory lane. And I know we've got some community members who are dealing with some similar experiences, and my heart goes out to all of you who are either grieving or coming to terms with loss. I think that that's something that we might be going through as a collective right now, especially with Venus and Scorpio. So I'll try to contextualize that for you and give you some ways to engage with that in a healthy way potentially. But I'm on the roller coaster ride with all of you, friends. All right, we've got these Libra risings stopping in. Tracy says 14-degree Libra rising right on your ascendant. Amy Dow is here. What's up, Amy? Nice to see you, friend. Hope you're doing well. Libra rising here too, so this is going to be a big one for you, Amy. Mariana says, yes, I moved to Germany 3 months ago. Migrating is hard. Yes, I remember. I think you were going off to Europe there. So yeah, trying to fit in a new culture and a new country. You're literally in exile, right? Just like Venus is in exile. This is an opportunity to figure out how do we work with that energy? How do we work with being in a strange place, but also be able to bring our own gifts to that experience? I think that's one thing that I think we can think about with exiled planets, but also just being physically in exile is we bring a new perspective and a different perspective from the people that may have lived in that place for their entire lives. And I think there's opportunities there. So even when we have exiled planets or we're in exile, we have opportunities to bring a new perspective to the table through our own wisdom, through the culture that we were from, through the wisdom that, every place has its own wisdom. There's something called a genus loci, which is the spirit of a place. And I think we bring a little bit of that with us wherever we go. I like to say to people, wherever you go, there you are. Because a lot of times people will try to move to escape some problems of their past. But oftentimes we bring some of those things with us because they're a part of us. And while we can make changes in different locations, I think, especially if it's a safety concern, I do think that some of the things that we are just inherent in our own experience, they're going to follow us around. So again, opportunities to work through things through different perspectives. Mariana says, thank you for this space. Thank you, Mariana. I'm just glad you're joining us. And again, glad that you were able to get to a place of safety, even if it isn't the most comfortable. It sounds like Germany's probably a better political climate right now, potentially, than Argentina. And that can only be of benefit for our long-term safety, I think. Laura Elizabeth is here, says, starting a new astrology group with lots of friends from the past. This eclipse will be on my Neptune, Chiron, and Jupiter in the 11th house. Oh my goodness, that sounds awesome, Laura. 11th house, start of a new journey with friends, maybe from the past too, with the connection with the south node for this eclipse. We'll break that down, how this is a south node K2 eclipse. We also have Mercury very close to the separation point from its Cazimi moment. So Mercury's going to be very close here, so we'll break that down as well. Dawn says, hi, everyone. Showed up just in time. Harvest time. What a time. Nice to see you, Dawn. Hope that you're doing well. I believe joining us from Alabama, if I'm remembering correctly. Keep me in the loop if my memory is still working, but glad to see you, Dawn. Bobby Lee is here. What's up, Bobby Lee? Says, hi, I have my South Node in Libra. 70, new start. Lost my husband 6 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry, Bobby. Now partner for teens years, and I are going through our last years together. Been a tough journey, but grateful. Yeah, Bobby, that's a tough one. I am a recent empty nester myself. I have a 20-year-old daughter, and that transition in the final years of high school to them becoming adults and leaving the nest is tough, especially if you've lost a partner. So I'm so sorry to hear that. I know how difficult that can be. Just losing folks can be a real shock to the system. But I think it gives us the opportunity to stay present. I think that what I will say, Bobby, is that enjoy those moments that you have with those beautiful teenagers, and give them some space to experiment with who they want to become as adults, while also, guiding them on the journey. I think we can still guide our kids, at whatever stage, but we just have to kind of make adjustments in the method, right? I think at the end of the day, love, support, and acceptance is important. It's easy to say that, harder to do sometimes, but we're all doing the best we can with the light that we have in the moment. Jennifer, what's up, Jennifer? Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Always lovely to see you in the chat, and hope you and your mom are doing well. Yes, Mobile, Alabama, Dawn says. I knew I was remembering that right. Bobby Lee says, my new partner is from my teen years. Oh, okay, sorry. Guiding adult kids. Okay, good. Sorry, I gave you some advice based on a slight misinterpretation, but that's good. I'm glad that you've been able to meet up with someone from your past. It's always nice to be able to reconnect. Maybe it was the one that got away, and now it isn't getting away. But yes, guiding adult kids is its own journey too, isn't it, friend? So I'm glad to see you here. You're a new name in the chat, so welcome, and I'm really happy that you're joining us today. Jennifer says, feeling that Neptune. Yeah, I hear you. We had a Neptune full moon lunar eclipse that we're basically in the middle of, as we get out of the eclipse full moon and are in the transition or Bardo period, moving towards the new moon in Libra. It is a little bit of a destabilizing position. It's sort of where the deck is being reshuffled, and we're starting to understand what types of things might be coming. We're tying up loose ends, we're releasing some things, and we're going to get a whole new set of circumstances that are going to be coming to us starting on this October the 2nd eclipse. So hopefully I'll be able to prepare you a little bit for that. Jennifer says, thanks, Mom's doing better. Good. I'm glad to hear that, Jennifer. It's always nice when we have people that are stopping in every week and giving me the updates on how their life is going. We do that a lot in the Decan walk as well. Get our updates and kind of support each other through the ups and downs, while also connecting it with the chart. So I'm glad to hear that, Jennifer. All right. So friends, thank you so much for the chats here. Do me a huge favor. If you are new here, subscribe to the channel. That's a great way to turn on that notification bell after describing, to know when I'm going live. Sign up for my newsletter so you can know when we're going to be going live each week. Hit that like button for me if you can. I know it's kind of cliche to say that, but it really does help get us in front of more audience people and bring more people into the group so that they can hopefully benefit from this community. Okay, so let's talk about this new moon solar eclipse, right? Let's talk about it. We've got a new moon solar eclipse, 10 degrees of Libra. And what we'll do today is we'll break down each piece of the new moon solar eclipse. I'll show you a few slides from my Libra and Scorpio Decan webinars. And I will also take you through about a week and a half after the eclipse. We'll talk about the astrology up to the first quarter, and then where we might be heading towards the full moon. But this is an opportunity for us to kind of break it down, see what we've got going on. All right, so we've got the new moon solar eclipse, 10 degrees of Libra, on Wednesday, October the 2nd at 2:49 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Make the appropriate adjustment for your time zone. You can see that Mercury is very close co-present almost, like a co-present, but almost conjunct. It's just separating from its cazimi that we are heading towards as I record this at the end of September. We have the host of this lunation is Venus in exile, but in aversion, having difficulty providing resources to the eclipse itself. And then we have one kind of, red flag here, purple flag. Let's make it purple. We've got Mars in the overcoming square to the lunation, which might portend some challenges, especially with Mars in its fall. This is a tough spot for Mars. It is always a little bit difficult when Mars is in the overcoming square to any positions or planets. This is a potential for some challenging energy, for some conflict, especially for some conflict within spaces we would normally consider safe spaces, the walled gardens of our lives. Oftentimes that's our family or our friends, our intimate connections. And it might be putting some pressure on our ability to create balance, harmony, and peace. One thing to keep in mind is this is a south node eclipse. So if we kind of take this piece by piece, we've got the sun and moon in Libra 2. So Libra 2 is really about oaths, contracts. Okay, it's really it shows us the commitments and obligations that we have in our life. So this could be an opportunity to either negotiate or renegotiate a commitment. We may be becoming aware of a new contractual agreement, and it doesn't have to be in writing. One of the things that you learn when we dive into things like the Libra 2 archetypes from ancient Greek culture is that an oath was sometimes verbal because a lot of people didn't know how to read or write. So your word was very important. So whether the agreement that you make is written down or official, this is a place in the zodiac that says, hey, your word's really important. Staying true to your commitments is very important. It's very painful when people break their commitments to us. And this there could be some potential for that. There could be potential for someone breaking their word, breaking a contract or an agreement. There is an association with vows or wedding vows. There could be some people, I'm sure there will be some people that are going through separations and relationships potentially, or the beginning of those separations. Hopefully not, if this is for you. I guess it's relative, right? Sometimes people are ready for that change. Other times people are like, oh no, that's a shock. I don't want that. But to everything there is a season. And I think that the other thing that we're kind of looking at is because the South Node is involved, because K2, the South Node in Libra, is involved, there are obligations and contracts that come to us from the past, okay? So like we had Laura talking about in her beginning chat that she was meeting up with a group of old friends from the past with this new moon eclipse happening in her 11th house. So you see how this could be old friends getting back together, making an agreement to one another. This could be something where you become aware of an obligation or some kind of contractual agreement from your past that maybe you thought was already finished, but now you have to kind of re-engage with it potentially. This could also be a coming together to be able to release something, to let go of something. K2 was the severed body of a demon or a dragon in Eastern culture, whereas Rahu, the North Node, was the severed head that had consumed the elixir of life and was trying to become immortal, right? And the South Node, oftentimes in modern astrology or modern evolutionary astrology, they talk about the North Node, South Node as wanting to move and grow towards your North Node and release the qualities of your South Node. Now, as I've gotten further into studying traditional astrology, I actually don't necessarily believe that. I think that the there's a balance point between the two. I think that we want to find the equilibrium between those two positions in our chart. In Eastern cultures, they were more, they thought more fondly of the South Node, because in those cultures, material acquisition was against the spiritual path. They to be able to come closer to your spirit or your spirituality, there's a lot of asceticism within some of those cultures that say, hey, you need to release attachments so that you're not bound to some of the challenges of this world. So they actually revere the South Node more in those cultures than here in the West, where we might be more inclined to acknowledge or celebrate increase, right? And see where that has gotten us. It's gotten us to the brink of climate crisis and disaster. It's gotten us to a place where greed and Wendigo thinking is running rampant. Wendigo being a term that I learned after reading Braiding Sweetgrass, that Wendigo was sort of a hungry, insatiable monster that represented greed within communities that were supposed to be about sharing. It's kind of a warning towards taking too much. And I think that this is an opportunity for us to learn how to let go, learn how to release, but to do it in a graceful way, to do it in a way that is building of community. Okay, I think we can come to, when we release our need to be radically independent. Maybe you could describe that as North Node in Aries, the need, the desire, the insatiable desire for radical independence. You naturally start to lean on one another. I just finished this book, Braiding Sweetgrass. It's so good. I highly, highly recommend it. Please, if you read nothing else for the end of the year, please pick that book up. Robin Wall Kimmerer, Braiding Sweetgrass. It's an indigenous botanist who is talking about the balance between our Western scientific mind and our indigenous animistic, infusing everything with life type of experience and mindset. It's really beautiful. And it really, the key takeaway from it is reciprocity with each other and with nature. Like not taking too much, but also learning about what we can give rather than what everything can give to us or what nature can give to us. How do we become protectors of it? How do we give back to it because it gives so much to us? And one of the things that has really been on my mind is she demonstrates very clearly that when we take in a balanced way and give in a balanced way, that abundance is sustainable. When we take in a way that is greedy, when we're taking more than our share, when we're taking in an imbalanced way, it becomes finite. I mean, this is. It seems like it would be common sense, but we are so wrapped up in this, how do we ascend to the top of the mountain type of thinking? How do we grasp for everything that will support us, that we're addicted to? We're addicted to a lot of things in these cultures, and much of it is unhealthy. And how do we shift that mindset into gratitude and giving and sharing? And I think this eclipse is going to help us with that, because when we let go of that selfish, narcissistic, individualistic desire, we learn about the beauty in each other, the beauty in sharing, the beauty in sustainable consumption and providing, right? Super important in these times. And it can be done joyfully. It doesn't have to be about denial. There are so many gifts that we can receive when we start to think in those terms, when we start to think about how can we become generous with our communities? How can we give back to the earth that has given us life, right? I was meditating on this the other day. I was like, what's the ultimate gift that we're going to give back to the earth that has given us our bodies, that has given us this consciousness through the coming together of these cells in this organized pattern that each of us is, well, we're going to give our bodies back to it. We're going to give our cells and our atoms back to the collective to be reformed into something else. And I think that that's actually really beautiful. And I think that the fall teaches us about decay. It teaches us about entropy. It teaches us about letting go. It teaches us about the dissolving of organization and organizational forms, right? The composting energy is very strong around this time of year. And it's so necessary, like, because that oftentimes what we learn is if we hang on too tightly to material forms, eventually they become corrupted. Okay, eventually they become dysfunctional. And when we let them return back to the earth, when we let them return back to chaos on some level, then they have the ability to reform into something more organized and healthy moving forward. Your body could become a tree. Your body could become a squirrel. Your body could become a mushroom. It's this beautiful cycle that we are so fortunate to be a part of. And we're so afraid of acknowledging death and decay and the need for the ground to lie fallow in this culture that we fear it like children, right? We're spiritual children in the West. We don't acknowledge death. We don't acknowledge the need for letting go. And that just makes us afraid of every change that comes along that could potentially be about loss. Nature isn't afraid of loss. Nature knows that life will return if it keeps its cycle going in a balanced cycle of reciprocity. So I feel like that's some of my thoughts about the K2 South Node experience with Libra. We've got some more really nice comments coming in and friends here. Naturalized Alien Resonance says, eclipses on my Pluto retro fortune conjunct Libra ascendant. My partner is going through leukemia chemo for 2 months already, and today he got sick in the middle of the night, so I have to go to emergency. Oh, I'm so sorry, friend. You know, just because we can acknowledge that loss and change of form is important doesn't mean that it isn't emotional and can't be excruciatingly painful. So I'm so sorry to hear about your partner, and I hope that the two of you can go through those changes gracefully. And I think, but also with the knowledge potentially that life does go on. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it will go on in the same form. And this isn't even like a religious thought. This is just a very practical thought that the life that animates us is going to animate some form of life in the future. And I know that that isn't the most comforting thing when we're going through something as horrific as chemotherapy. But that does give me a little bit of peace of mind knowing that whatever I am is going to continue on in some form or another. And that does bring me a little bit of peace. But I'm sorry to hear that, friend, and please hang in there. Jennifer says, the new moon is conjunct with Mercury, will trine my Mars in Gemini, trine my Saturn in Aquarius. Oh my goodness, so you got a lot of context here, Jennifer. So we'll help you break that down. But this could be, with all those trines, maybe this is one that flows a little bit easier for you, Jennifer, rather than with some people who have this squared some of their planets. I have this eclipse squared my natal Sun and Mercury, so we'll see how that works out. I've got Mars conjoining my natal Sun on this one, so say a few prayers for me. Hey, what's up, my friend Claire? How you doing, my friend? Aligning Light Astrology is here. It says, snaps fingers in reverence of the South Node in some cultures versus reverence of North Node in others. Yeah, and it's something that I don't think we hear as often as we should in Western civilization, the need for release and the reverence of that South Node. South Node isn't necessarily something to fear. It's something to embrace as bringing us closer to the divine, closer to a spiritual experience that I think all of us who study some of these themes, I think not everybody, but most people are trying to embrace some kind of spirituality through it. And I think that this is an opportunity to really walk our talk with that. But it's nice to see you, friend. I hope you're doing well out there. And I know you just left a nice comment on the last video I did. I haven't had the chance to respond, but I saw it, and I really appreciate you continuing to stop in and be part of our community. Yeah, Claire does really amazing work on her own. So check out her offerings, Aligning Light Astrology. Julene is here. What's up, Julene? Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well, my friend, down there in Arizona. Bobby Lee says, I am reminded to ask, what breathes you? What breathes me? That's an interesting question. Maybe you can expand on that question a little bit more. That's a little vague. But what breathes me? Well, I believe I heard a lecture from Demetra George talking about the breath of life, the spirit of life, the animating force. So at this point, I feel like there is a consciousness. I don't know exactly what it is. You could call it God, you could call it the divine, you could call it Gaia, you could call it Mother Earth, you could call it nature, but that breath of life that animates us, I think that's something that we're all trying to answer that question as spiritual seekers. So yeah, if you have more thoughts on that, more expansions on that, Bobby, feel free to put it in the chat here, but that's an interesting question. Robin says, wow, not only is this eclipse right on top of my natal Pluto, but K2 is also right on top of my sun. Can't lie, I'm a little bit nervous. Well, here's the thing. Like, when we have important changes, making contacts with our chart, it is a little bit nerve-wracking sometimes, but it is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity to make change in our life. Sometimes what we view as a negative change leads to very positive changes down the road. We have such a limited viewpoint as to how things are turning out in our life. We are very, as much as we fear the future and mourn the past, I think we are very in the present creatures. And sometimes it can be hard to see the bigger cycles that are happening in our lives. This is the beauty of astrology. It helps contextualize the larger cycles in life that we're going through. So I think that one thing I will say is whatever comes up for all of you, Robin included, let it play out a little bit. Try not to make a judgment about it right away. I mean, do what needs to be done to respond to it, but also this could be part of a release that's going to lead to new life moving forward. That's something that I think we need to acknowledge about Scorpio in particular, is that we have this composting, letting go of old forms. So it is a liberation of old energy that wants to find a new form. And that transition from Scorpio to Sagittarius is that finding of new form, the new vehicle, the new enthusiasm. Libra season can be tough because Libra season is very much, I feel it's very related to the concept of Mott. And I say the concept of Mott. I always joke with my partner Tanya that I sing the song from John Lennon, Mott is a concept by which we measure our pain, right? Where he has that song, God is a concept by which we measure our pain. And Mott was a deity in ancient Egyptian culture, but also more so a philosophical concept. Okay, that's why I say Mott is a concept. And it's that weighing of the heart against the weight of the feather as in the entrance to the afterlife. And it's saying, hey, what are you bringing with you to this afterlife? Did you do all the things that you needed to do in this life? Have you released everything that you need to release? And how do we find balance? How do we let go of what is no longer serving us so that we can move on to the next experience? It is a period of reckoning. It is a period of reaping, for sure. It is the exaltation of Saturn for a reason. But I love to say about Saturn is Saturn is a planet of Nemesis. And Nemesis is a deity that helps stabilize the twists and turns of 2K, which translates to chance or fortune. Okay, 2K would hand out fortune without discretion, and it can be a little bit up, it can be down, it's a wheel, right? But Nemesis helps us to bring balance to it by increasing that which is lacking and decreasing that which is excessive. It is a stabilizing force. So we have the opportunity to stabilize our lives through these changes as well. So, Robin, I hope everything's going well with you. And, Julene, awesome. Thank you for the super chat, Julene. Says, glad to catch you live. I watched the replay, but I have to run out. Appreciate you, Spencer. I appreciate you, Julene. And I'll get back to something. I knew you have a couple comments earlier here, but I wanted to acknowledge your generosity. Thank you so much for supporting the channel in this way. Julene just bought a super chat, which you can find with the little $sign in the chat if you want to support the work I'm doing here today. Really hope things are going well with you and that you and your grandson are doing well. I believe you gave me an update here with your grandson here back somewhere. I'll have to find it in the chat. Well, if you're listening on the replay, I'll find it. But hope Keegan's doing well. And it says Keegan just received his first college mail from Iowa State. Oh my goodness, that's exciting. Well, I hope that he's finding joy in the process. One day at a time, but it sounds like it's a talented dude who has a bright future ahead of him, Julene. So I'm really happy to hear that. Okay, let me get back in the chat here. We've got some really nice comments coming in. Rachel's here. What's up, Rachel Alone? Joining us from Ireland. Says, warm greetings, Spencer and friends, from a very chilly Irish evening. Probably going to be here in the background this evening, feeling a little drained at the end of this week. Yeah, I hear you. It's been a tough week. There's been a sadness that's been going around this week. And I'm going to give credit to Venus and Scorpio for that, but also I was talking to my friend Devin, who's been going through some important changes in his life too. And, I was thinking about, what is this heaviness about I'm feeling? He was pointing out, hey, we're coming off Pisces eclipse. That can be a real emotional time, right? Especially with its conjunction with Neptune. I agree that a lot of the feelings are coming out, a lot of emotions coming out for us to process. Rachel says, looking forward to your astrological insights as always, and lovely community chat. Yeah, thanks, Rachel. I'm just really happy that you're a part of it here, friend. Claire says, good to see you, crawling out of my 12th house year. Oh my goodness, your 12th house perfection year. Oh, Claire, that's a fun one, isn't it? Hole for some air. Yes. Yeah. It's important to come out and come up for air when we're dealing with 12th house stuff. I can relate to that. We live the 12th house, Claire, right? We have some 12th house placements that we live through our entire life. And, I really look forward to these weekly chats with everyone. This helps get me out of my, self-imposed isolation and connecting with people in this form. But yeah, I'm glad to see that you're joining us here, Claire, and really hoping the best for you and that life is treating you well. Prayers, alien. Okay, Jennifer says. Yeah, sure. That's a good one. Julian says, all good. Things are looking up. Life breathing back into my consulting work, but in a different form. Eclipse in the 5th house coming back, but different South Node transit. Nice. All right, well, I'm glad to hear that, Julene. Julene's are one of our resident Gemini risings, if I'm not mistaken. So we've got a few of those in the chat here today. Painted Turtles here. What's up, Lauren? Nice to see you. Hi, all. Autumn greetings. My favorite time. Nice to see you, Lauren. I sent you an email recently, Lauren. Lauren's going to be joining us for our journeys. There's couple more steps in completing the registration process, Lauren. So hopefully you'll get on that. Sorry. Yes, I use a registration / scheduling program that makes us jump through a couple hoops for some of these things, and I apologize for anybody who has had to go through a few of those extra steps, but it really does make life a lot easier for me, and hopefully it'll streamline the process for you. So reach out if you have any questions with that, friends, and I'm really hoping that more of you will hop on board for the fall offerings that we have here. Laura's here. What's up, Benel Dell? Says, hi, friends. Happy betwixt eclipse season. Nice to see you, Laura, and happy that you're going to be joining us for some of our journeys as well. Hope everything's going well for you over in Wisconsin, my friend. Looking forward to going on that Decan walk journey with you. Rachel says, rich colors all around us. Yes, absolutely. We're getting into the fall color period, aren't we? Bobby says, that's my reason for being here. Being present at the last breath with loved ones. We are given breath at birth and taken at death. Yes, Bobby, I like that. I love that clarification with that, right? Just making the most of our moments and our presence with each other. I've been following this this gentleman, I think his name's like Uncle Pappy or something like that. I don't remember if I'm remembering that correctly, but he's on Instagram and he's from like Florida or something like that. And he always has this wonderful philosophical, positive take on life. And he was talking about legacy the other day it really moved me. He was talking about a lot of us are worried about passing on these legacies. But he's like, the best legacy that you can pass on is just your kindness out into the world. Those ripples are going to start, moving out from you. And I think my power just came on, so this little thing clicked back on here. Oh, that's fun. I was out of power. I was doing this live stream on a generator. so, so this legacy of kindness, this legacy of just being there for each other. And oftentimes it's very rare for us to be able to, I don't know, be quote unquote remembered in the traditional sense, many generations, moving forward. But the actions that we take, the love that we give, the community that we build, that does have ripples, right? When we change someone's day, experience, etc., that is a great legacy to pass on as well. So I'm right there with you, Bobby Lee. Let's see. Jennifer says, my South Node on Saturn in Aquarius, 9th house. Believe this enables me to let go of the spiritual things that have held me in the past. Yeah, I think this is an opportunity, right? An opportunity to do so. With this South Node eclipse, I think this is going to be in your 5th house, Jennifer. So this could be the beginning of letting go of something with your children or with a creative process potentially. So this is an opportunity to understand obligations that you might have with that as well. I think we'll talk more about that, but I think that's an important part of this eclipse is understanding our commitments to one another. Yeah, it's nice to see Claire here in the chat for sure. It's been a little bit, Claire. It's been a little bit since we've seen you. You've been in your 12th house Hobbit hole, right? But I'm glad you're emerging. We need our 12th house friends to emerge every once in a while and give us some reports from those liminal spaces. That's kind of what I try to do here every week. I don't know if I have the emotional energy to do like a live stream or a video every single week, but I try to be my best at once a week for everyone, right? And that's kind of the 12th house thing, being able to be on when you can be on, but then take the time to recharge when it's necessary as well. Let's see. D-Death is here. It says, protect your child. They are the receiver of this new knowledge. Yeah, if you've got children out there, like passing on wisdom to them, but with allowing them their own journey and their own perspective as well. That's a hard balance to strike. That's something I've struggled with in my life for sure. And with my own daughter is trying to impart my own wisdom and my own way of seeing the world and my own ripples, my own legacy, but then, trying to observe how that's different from her journey and accepting that. Those are not easy questions to answer. So yes, our children are our legacy if you have them, but not everyone does. And there are many different ways to share that love with people, even if you don't have physical children. The children could be your creative projects. They could be your neighbors. They could be your community. They could be just the kindness that you give to someone at the store or something like that. There's all sorts of opportunities to do that. It could be through healing the earth. This is something I've found a lot of meaning in, is how do I heal the little postage stamp of land that I'm responsible for? I have a 1/4 acre of land that my house is on. It's not very big, but I'm doing my best to turn this land from a desolate wasteland of Kentucky bluegrass into a thriving native pollinator habitat. And it takes time and it takes, energy, blood, sweat, and tears. But if that's the legacy that I leave behind, that there's plants for these animals and these insects and these birds, that's worth it too. So there's all sorts of things we can do. But now Dell says, very, very hard week, lot of loss, working on letting go. Last eclipse was on top of my Saturn. This one is on my MC. Oh my goodness, Laura. Well, hopefully we'll provide a supportive, witnessing safe space for you as we go on this Decan walk journey together. But hang in there, friend. I know a lot of people are going through this right now. One thing I can say is this too shall pass. The feeling the feelings, feeling the grief is very important. When we push it down and we don't allow ourselves to feel it, it starts to fester and it starts to take its toll on our bodies. But letting ourselves cry, letting ourselves feel those feelings helps us to let go of it in a cathartic way. So don't be afraid of those feelings that bubble up. Find a way to feel those and express those in a healthy way. And I think that can be the first step towards that healing. Tracy says, I appreciate you, Spencer. I appreciate you, Tracy. Appreciate you just your presence here every week. That's awesome that you show up. Showing up's half the battle, right? That's one of the things I think was that Edison was talking about. Like, I don't know if that was a quote from him, but showing up is important. And oftentimes that's very difficult to do. And those of you that I see here every week, that gives me life. That gives me hope. And it motivates me to continue to do the best job I possibly can to bring you this information each week and to continue on with this channel. So thank you so much for being here, Tracy. D-Death says, they are your future to be born again in this earth, for your genes was in them the hidden code of life. 33. Oh my goodness. D-Death's getting deep here. All right. Yeah, I think definitely children can be our legacy. But again, many ways to pass on a legacy. Pantero says, okay, I'll try to get to the schedule thing. It's really not a lot, just a lot for someone who hates scheduling. It's okay, but I want you to be able to get all of the, emails that we send out for the Zoom links and all that. So yeah, it'll I understand, but get on it. I'll hold you accountable. No, it's not a huge deal. We've got plenty of time before we get started. I just want to make sure you get everything you need moving forward. Jennifer says, interesting on your take. Thank you. All right. Got all these beautiful comments coming in. All right. I'm just kind of processing some of these comments here. Yeah. Jennifer says, it's amazing what grows back and how big it gets when you don't cut back everything. Absolutely. Just thinking about the native pollinator plants that come back each year. And it changes every year. This is one thing that I've learned connecting deeper with nature is learning about change and learning about having faith that when those plants start dying back, that they will return again in the spring. That is a meditative practice on its own. I get a little bit depressed this time of year because the plants that I just really enjoy over the course of spring and summer start to fade and the life starts to go underground. And that can be difficult if you're connected with nature. But there's so many different ways to connect. Even in the fall and in the winter seasons, there's still beauty to be seen. And when you see those little sprouts coming back in spring, it is incredible. And I will say, for all of you who want to do more of this work, leave the leaves. You don't have to pack up those leaves and send them to the dump. There's lots of insects, beneficial pollinator insects in those leaves. You can pile them up out of the way if you want, but leave them for a little while. You don't always have to clear all the debris out of your garden either. That debris has life in it. That has future life in it. And that's something I've been learning is just letting things be messy, letting things be a little bit chaotic, right? Because that chaos eventually will become order once again. Bettina's here. Nice to see you, Bettina. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Says thank you for your work and time. Appreciate you. I hope you're doing well over there. And where are you joining us from? Spain? Is it Spain? I think you were in Europe. It was either France or Spain, right? Tell me which if I'm remembering this correctly, Bettina. But I hope you're doing well, my friend. And it's nice to see you here in the chat with us. Dida says, sorry, bro, if I disrupt your live. No, it's all good. It's all good. This is a place for sharing our thoughts in our community. So you're welcome here too, friend. As long as we treat each other with respect and with kindness, everybody here is welcome. Benaldell says, thank you, Spencer. Amazing to get signed up with you too and other blessings. I personally have let my gardens go to pot, and I'm not sure why. They're really sad. That too shall pass. You know what? To everything there is a season. Maybe that land is healing right now. And there is an intelligence in nature that we don't always have to do a ton, right? Sometimes when we just let it go, what needs to show up will show up. Like, for example, I've learned a lot about poison ivy. Poison ivy is one of the first things to come back when a land is trying to heal itself. So there's another plant that grows near it named jewelweed. So like the antidote to that poison grows near it on the streams and banks of rivers and creeks. So like it's just there's a beautiful intelligence and balance to all of it. And I don't think that we always have to feel like we have to be so responsible for every single step. But I do think there are things that we can do to be good stewards of it. That doesn't mean that we have to be completely objective observers. This is another thing I learned in this beautiful book, is that we do have a role as stewards of this earth, right? As people who can affect change, but also help things to thrive and to grow, but also helping things to pass on and to die. One of the things that you learn as you start getting closer with nature is that fire is cleansing, right? That those forest fires, if they're done in a healthy way, rather than some of the fires that we've seen recently, they actually pave the way for new life. There are certain seeds that need that cleansing fire to sprout. So we may need that cleansing fire in our own life for us to be able to sprout in ways that we never thought possible. So, just observing the changes around you and doing what you can, I think it can be a beautiful experience. Yes, all right. We've got butterflies and sprouts from our friend here. French Uruguayan. All right, Bettina. I thought I had part of that right? I think we were joining us from maybe Paris the last time. Yeah. So nice to see you, friend. Yes, permanent courier of nature's knowledge. Absolutely. I have a lot of family members that were conservationists, who were people that worked in national and state parks teaching about life and about preserving these beautiful lands that we live in. And that's a legacy that rippled from them to me, that hopefully I can continue to ripple out into whatever infinity, right? Isn't it incredible how that continues to affect us generations later? Rachel says, I'm an autumn soul just looking at the bronze and red colors outside today against a cool sky. It made me feel restful. Summer, I find a lot. Yes, I love that. Just appreciating the colors. Painted Turtle says, I dried some leaves and sent them to a friend in Florida who doesn't get the fall anymore. Perfect birthday confetti. Oh, I love that. Yeah, being able to share things with folks who maybe aren't as connected with the seasons, right? Like sometimes if we live in a tropical place or something like that, it is a little bit, the seasons are a little bit more consistent. Although I will say, I have my Floridians in my heart today. I know I've got our friend Jody down there. I hope you're doing well, Jody. And other Floridians. I'm sorry if I'm leaving anyone out. That's just the first person that came to mind. They're going through some major storms right now. So hope that you're finding safety and that everything's going well right now, and that you're leaning on your neighbors and your community for help if you need it. Rachel says we are all different and aligned with different seasons at different times in our life. Absolutely. I agree. This precious season on our doorstep doesn't appear everywhere. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy how we are experiencing completely different phases in the cycle on the same planet? It's always felt so mysterious and magical to me. Okay, so a nice discussion about K2 and the South Node and release. Let's break down a few more of these qualities of this new moon solar eclipse. So we have the host of this new moon solar eclipse in Scorpio. You could see that Venus is at 11 degrees of Scorpio, very close to a fixed star called Alphecca. Okay, Alphecca, I'm going to bring up a few things here in a second, but Alphecca is what's called the crown of Ariadne. If you're familiar with Greek mythology, Ariadne was a princess or a queen that basically helped Theseus out of the maze of the Minotaur. And she became his wife and then was abandoned on an island by him, only to be rescued by Dionysus and become his bride on Olympus. So this change of fortune, this elevated status, but that comes with a catch, right? So oftentimes people that have Alphecca placements, I believe People like Grace Kelly potentially had that, or I don't know if Marilyn Monroe had uh, alphaca placements. People like that, like Grace Kelly, Marilyn Monroe. I think Princess Diana had an alphaca placement. Um, just this like fame, social status, but it came with a cost. And sometimes when we lose status, this story can teach us that something better can come along. Maybe that part of that status report wasn't bringing us the joy that we wanted, and something more spiritual can come along potentially. So this eclipse could potentially bring us in alignment with some kind of elevation of our social status, but we have to be careful that it's bringing us the type of energy that we desire. We also have Mercury on the fixed star Vindamayatrix at 11 degrees of Libra. Okay. Now, Vindamayatrix gets a bad rap in traditional astrology oftentimes. It is called the Widowmaker. It is a star of loss, of sometimes a loss of a very important partner or consort. And that story comes from the story of Ampelos. And Ampelos was a lover or consort of Dionysus, another Dionysus theme. It means grape gatherer. So Ampelos was said to be gathering grapes at a very tall vine and fell from that vine and died. And there was a lot of grief associated with that. So there's two ways to look at Vindamayatrix. Vindamayatrix can be a place of loss. It can also be a place of gathering information, gathering grapes. We just want to be careful that when we are gathering, that we're not climbing too high, that we're not trying to hoard or something of that nature. This is some sort of message, I think, within that as well. And of course, we just are going to be coming off a Mercury cazimi at about 8 degrees of Libra on the South Node, very close to a fixed star called Diadem. And Diadem is basically related to a story of another queen who made a sacrifice of her hair, her crown, okay, to Aphrodite for the safe return of her husband, the pharaoh, from war. So there may be some sacrifices for the family that we are being asked to make at this lunation cycle. And I think that that's even more highlighted by Mars being squared to this new moon. You could see Mars in the sign of Cancer, in the sign of domesticity, in the sign of family, where there may be some real challenges in our family relationships that bring us new obligations, that bring us the necessity to make sacrifices for some kind of other. And that can be very difficult. You know, my beautiful partner, Tanya, her dad's going through the late stages of Lewy body dementia, which is a form of Alzheimer's. And it's horrific to watch that. It's horrific to watch someone who you looked up to deteriorate and their form change. You know, that is a lot of pressure. In my own experience, my mother had a very debilitating stroke a few years ago and ended up being very immobile and nonverbal for periods of time, and ended up passing from some of the complications a few years after that stroke. And watching someone who was so vivacious and so animated become so frail so quickly was very difficult and created lots of obligations and challenges. So I think both Tanya and I have experienced some of those things, and it can be very difficult. So I do think that there is an opportunity for some of those themes to come up, obligations through challenges with our domestic spheres. But here's the thing. When we are, let's say something's going on with our parents, as much as we all have sort of, not everybody, but a lot of us have mixed relationships with our parents. I do think that it is important to try to be as giving as you possibly can if you're experiencing a challenge like that, or with another family member, or whatever it is. Like, one of the things that Uncle Pappy, I think he talks about, he was talking about just like how liberating it is not to hold on to grievances from the past, how toxic that can be. And I really think that that's true. I think that sometimes when we deal with frailty, with illness, it brings us in even closer in touch with the moment and with gratitude, right? Even if our relationships aren't perfect, who do we want to be rather than who did we wish that person was to us? Who do we want to be in the moments of crisis? And I think that this is going to help us to think about who do we want to be in those moments. Do we want to be someone who honors our commitments? Do we want to be someone who honors the obligations that come up to us, maybe with a family member, maybe with a close friend or an intimate associate? Or are we going to dishonor those commitments? One of the most painful things in Libra too, second decan, is when agreements and oaths, contracts are broken. When we see people not honoring their vows, not honoring their commitments. We can be victims of that. We can be perpetrators of that. So choose your commitments wisely. Choose what you honor and the oaths that you make wisely so that you aren't creating this pain for others as well. This is another way to think about this. So I really think that is a big spotlight on this eclipse is that Mars in the overcoming square. Mars is very powerful and very loud in this eclipse. Okay, we have both the Sun, Moon, and Mercury applying to Mars. Okay, so these commitments, I really strongly feel a lot of these commitments that we're going to be asked to do are in our most intimate relations. All right, let me check back in with our chat here. I so love how active our chat is. You all are so awesome. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the newsletter. And do me a huge favor, just hit the like button and turn on that notification bell so you know when we're going live. It really does help me out a lot. Just the simple act of liking the video can just really bring in more people into our beautiful community, more voices to be able to contribute. That's one of the things I love about this channel. It really does feel like a communal effort. I really try to highlight not only just the wisdom that I'm trying to bring, but the wisdom of our community as well. Let's see. Send to my daughter in Florida. Let's see. Oh, nice. Got some nice conversations going on. Rachel says, I volunteered for conservation projects, and the people I've worked with were some of the most dedicated workers I've ever met. No time to lose, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. And those small acts of kindness really go a long way. I mean, and this is not just for each other as human beings. We're helping to honor our non-human brothers and sisters, like thinking about how we can make things more comfortable for the animals and birds and insects in our community is super, super important. And in a way that we don't think about enough, and that we should, that thinking about the personhood of, here's what I will say. I'll get spicy about this for a minute. If we give personhood to an idealistic entity like a corporation, how skewed is it that that's our priority when we don't think of our animal brothers and sisters, our tree brothers and sisters as having personhood as well? Things that actually have the breath of life. It's such skewed, those priorities. And we can change that just by starting to honor the earth as a living organism and honor the consciousness, even if it's different from ours. Trees have different consciousnesses than people do. Rocks have different consciousness. This reanimating the world through animism, I think, is very important. And it is very much an indigenous way of thinking that I think is much healthier than this disconnected Cartesian logic, utilitarianism that we've fallen victim to. And we really are victims of that thinking over the last few centuries. Fion, what's up, Fion? Says, I have this eclipse in my first house. I'm already feeling the letting go part of this. Spent the week working on things I have no energy for. Letting go feels like making room for something new. Absolutely, Fion. That's an excellent, excellent way to deal with this eclipse, is just leaning into it. Clearing the decks, is going to bring you new energy in the future. And that's something that we really need to understand when we go through the process of letting go, is that liberation is helping us, it's helping future us, right? And in the moment, it's hard, but in the future, you is going to thank you, Fionn, for doing this hard work of letting go, because it is going to make your future experience much smoother, much easier. The hard part is when we hold on too tightly to forms that are no longer bringing us vitality. That's when we fall into prey to like the third decan of Scorpio energy, which they call debauchery. When we try to glamorize or keep something alive that's past its expiration date, that's when all sorts of horrific things can happen. Vampirism, those types of energies, right? Dark energies. So very important to let go when the time is right. Okay. D-Death says that leaves in Canada, that Sakura. I want to travel where they are and witness it with my own five senses. Yeah, there's, I'm a little bit jealous of my dad right now. My dad called me yesterday, and he's on a last minute trip to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And he's taking in the fall colors up there and St. Ignace and going up to Tequamanon Falls and going to see the pictured rocks. And I really miss going there. My partner and I usually went once every year or two, and we haven't been in a few years. And I was just thinking about how gorgeous that land is and how connected I felt to it. So yeah, if you have an opportunity to go to a place with beautiful fall colors, whether it's Canada or the northern United States, take advantage of it, because it really can fill your soul up. Amy says, both Pluto and Mars on Libra in my first house. Curious to how to use this in a positive way to navigate this South Node eclipse. Yeah, so you're going to have the Mars activation, both Pluto and Mars in Libra in my first house. Mars-Pluto activation. Well, Mars is in its exile in Libra. I'm a Pluto Libra generation myself. You and I are similar ages, I think, Amy. I think that having an exiled planet activated, in your case, it's going to be the ruler of your 7th house and your 2nd house, the ruler of Aries and Scorpio. So I do think that this is possibly an opportunity for letting go or changing form of your expectations about financial resources with a partner. I think there could be possibilities where there's some tough conversations about your obligations that each of you are responsible for, potentially. Maybe also revealing some of the buried corruption within our relationships with Pluto in Libra. I think sometimes every relationship has some things that get ignored every once in a while, that get cast aside so that we can maintain peace. And when you have an eclipse like this activating Mars and Pluto in a first house, ruling the 7th and the 2nd, I think there's a possibility that some of the things that we may have ignored will come bubbling up potentially. Now, the other thing to consider is that Mars is moving through your 10th house in its fall. So there might be some pressure that you might be experiencing at work, where maybe you might be struggling with your resources at work or something like that, and that could be putting pressure on the relationship itself. So I wish you luck with all that, Amy, and I hope that communication, I think, is the key, navigating this. I think that one of the things that we are letting go of at this Mercury Cazimi coming up on the South Node in the first 10-degree section of Libra is righteous indignation. And I say that because the first decan of Libra has a spirit associated with it called the Uranes, where people prayed to the Uranes to be able to punish people who had gotten away with a crime. I think that one of the things that we do in the first decan of Libras, I think it's very much a keeping score decan. It says, oh, is this fair? Am I being given the same amount exactly as someone else is? And then we get angry if we're not. Relationships are not 50-50 all the time. There are sometimes when we're giving more. There's sometimes when we're receiving more. There's sometimes where we're giving more in one area and receiving more in a different area. I think that this could be a time to let go of expectations about how we are being appreciated for giving and how we are receiving. because sometimes, let's say there's an illness, or let's say someone's struggling with having unemployment or something like that. We may have to carry more of the weight, more of the obligation for a short period of time. But what I've seen over long periods of time is eventually the script flips. Eventually, there will be a rebalancing through some karmic experience or whatever. I witnessed this with my own parents, right? Like, my stepdad was 15 years older than my mom, and there was always this assumption that she was going to have to take care of him in his old age, and it ended up being the exact opposite. Like, there was this script that flipped, and it's just really funny how that happens. So release expectations, I will say. Try to have gratitude for whatever people can give in your relationship, and figure out how you can give to the relationship as well. I hope that's helpful for you, Amy. Let's see. What else? What else? What else? Man, so many amazing chats here today. Let's see. D-Death says, I'm actually a Libra, Earth Dragon, double infinity. Nice. I love my dragon friends. I'm a monkey. I'm a 1980 metal monkey. So I get along pretty well with most people, but extra good with my dragon and rat friends, I think. So that's cool. Let's see. What I found with dementia and Alzheimer's is very fluid and centered conversations can happen when we talk about the person's childhood. It's very beautiful and touching how many memories stick around. Absolutely. Yeah, the core memories, right, can be accessed, I think, a little bit easier, the long-term memory. I worked in a nursing home when I was in college for a very brief period of time because it was super difficult for me to witness that as a young person. I wasn't as comfortable with death and decay as I am now as an older person. But I was the entertainment director, so I would go around and play music for the dementia and Alzheimer's patients, and you'd be amazed at how much more verbal many of them came through music. So I think that's another opportunity if you're experiencing that with someone in your life, like just playing the songs that they love, like showing them things that they loved from their childhood, like you were saying, and talking about things that they remember. There's so many different ways that we can make someone's life more comfortable, even if it's not in a perfect state. Jennifer says, when you mean apply to Mars is at 15 and the new moon at 10. So Mars is applying to the eclipse. Well, so what I mean by that, Jennifer, is that the moon and the sun are moving quicker than Mars. So in this case, the moon and the sun are going to be applying to Mars by aspectual degree. So Mars is aspecting both of those planets from the overcoming square, but eventually the moon and Mercury and the sun are moving towards Mars because they move faster than Mars. Does that make sense? Yes. So Laura says, did you see the news about how they've proven consciousness in octopuses? Oh my goodness. That's awesome. I haven't seen that news, but I don't doubt it. Octopi seem, is that the plural? Octopi? Octopuses? They seem extremely intelligent, right? I have seen that movie, My Octopus Friend, super incredible. And I think that I see this not only in like octopi, but in squirrels, in bees, in flowers, in trees, in landscape, in the rocks. Like, there is so many different ways that intelligence can be expressed, and it's all valuable. It's all equally valuable. I think that's the thing to understand. And the more that we embrace that as human beings, that not only are we equal to one another, which we have trouble with, is we're equal to these non-human things too, and elevating ourselves above it and above each other is the biggest grift and lie that we've been told over the course of our lives. So reestablishing that equality and equilibrium, not only with each other, but with life itself, is one of the great healing journeys that I think that we're tasked with taking right now. Lauren says, I've had a great conversations with my husband's grandparents, asking about their siblings and what they enjoyed when they were children. Awesome. Yeah, that's, like, again, a great way to draw that out for people, for sure. Octopi, Accio friends. Right? That's funny. Oh, gosh. Laura says, it's also very interesting to me that the Sun, Saturn, and Mercury conjunction in Pisces was directly opposed to this cazimi and eclipse. Oh, let me parse that out. Sun, Saturn, Mercury conjunction in Pisces was directly opposed to this cazimi and eclipse. Yeah, when was that? What was the Sun? That was Pisces season? Am I... Saturn. Say more about that, Laura. I'd be curious as to what we're looking at there. Tracy says, I'm a metal monkey too. Metal monkeys unite. Nice. 1968. All right. Monkeys unite. Oh, my goodness. Jennifer's the tiger. That's funny. Jennifer says, okay, yes, makes sense. But what does that do to Mars then if Mars is overcoming it the other way? So the overcoming nomenclature refers to it being 10 signs away from the eclipse. So if you were, let's say you were looking at the eclipse from this center position right here. Okay, let's make it a circle. So here is the center. If you're looking at it out this way, okay, the planet that is right of center is always said to be in the overcoming position. It is actually chasing those planets in the zodiac, even though those planets are moving faster. Mars is chasing, and ancient astrologers felt that a planet that is chasing another one has an advantage over it. And the way that it was described metaphorically was like, let's say you're in a car chase. You have this old-timey, like, gangster car chase, like an Al Capone type thing. And the police are chasing the gangsters, but they are in the chase position, the overcoming position, but the gangsters have to shoot behind them to hit the police car. They can still do damage, but it's more difficult to fire behind you than it is to fire at something that's in front of you. So this is also true for benefic planets that are in the overcoming position. They can have a positive effect on planets, but malefic planets like Saturn and Mars in the overcoming position can be very difficult because they have an overpowering quality to the planets that they're making an aspect with. Yeah, no worries, Jennifer. Hopefully that will help clarify a little bit. There's a lot of stuff going on with astrology. I guess the thing to know, the simple version, is that Mars has a lot of power in this eclipse, and it has a lot of influence on it. And Mars is going to be bringing us potentially some conflict in our intimate spaces. So that's the main takeaway, I think. Robin's a wood bunny. Nice. All right. We've all got our Chinese animals with our elements coming in here. Okay. So those are the main elements of this eclipse. One thing I'd like to do now is I'd like to just go back and talk a little bit more about the sun and moon in Libra 2. Before I do that, friends, let's take a little stretch. We're at about an hour and 20 minutes. Take a little stretch break. I think my power's back on. So I'm going to turn on a light so we get some extra light in here. So stretch out, hit the like button. Do me a favor. There we go. I was limiting the use of some of the lights in my office so that I didn't run the generator down too quickly. We lost power about 40 minutes before the show here today, and I had to hook up my EcoFlow Delta Pro, which is like a battery-powered indoor generator that you can run. That's very quiet. You probably haven't even heard it at all. That's incredible. It was a good investment. It's also solar powered as well, so you can hook it up to a solar panel and then, recharge it if you're in an emergency situation. Yeah. So stretch out, hit that like button. If you want to make a donation to the show today, hit that super chat button, the little $ in the chat, or you can go to buymeacoffee.com and make a Patreon style donation over there. that's a great way to support the channel as well. I've had some people reaching out and asking about if I have like a Patreon or something like that. I don't, but Buy Me Coffee is basically that type of platform, and I believe there is a subscription on there. I think you can sign up to donate, once a month or something, but I haven't quite fleshed that out yet. I think a great way to support the channel too, purchasing the webinars, signing up for classes. Those are the great ways to support the work that I'm doing and keeping me with the lights on here. But yes, thank you, Tracy, for your super sticker. Appreciate you, my friend. Yeah, it's super easy way to donate to the channel here, and I appreciate all of you. Your presence is super valuable to me as well. If you don't have the means to donate, do me a huge favor and just hit the like button on the channel. Being active in the chat helps. All of it. It's all good. All right, let's keep going. What do you say? What do you say, my friends? Okay. So, oh yes, we got that Pisces one, right? There we go. Jennifer says, yes, that helps. Okay, good. Good. I love this channel as a vehicle for teaching as well. I love teaching. I don't want to just tell you what's going to happen. I want to show you how I'm seeing it and the technique around it, so that eventually, I hope you keep coming, but you'll be able to do some of this on your own too, and learn some of the astrological concepts along with it. Mariana says, now that you've talked about the overcoming square of Mars, that Mars-Venus trine yells at me, breakups in relationships. I think that's a possibility, Mariana. I think there will be some relationships that don't survive this eclipse season. They could be family relationships. They could be personal relationships. They could be, there's all sorts of different types of relationships. But everything has a season. Everything has an expiration date. But the love that you felt with those people, I don't think it ever truly dies. Even if you lose a family member or something like that, I will tell you, Mariana, I had a tough day yesterday. I had a day where I talked to my dad, and he was saying, "Oh, I'm on vacation, and basically your favorite place to vacation." I was like, "Oh man, I'm just feeling a little FOMO," and it got me down a journey of looking at my old vacation photos. When I went on trips with Tanya up there, and that eventually led to me looking at some old vacation photos with my mom. And I have this feature on my phone. It's a live photo where you can actually if you just hold it down, you can see 5 seconds of what was happening when you took that photo with sound and everything. And just hearing my mom's voice and her laugh and stuff, it was haunting, and it brought up some intense feelings, some sadness. But I feel my mom's presence with me everywhere. When she's out with me in the garden, she sends me butterflies, she sends me little winks from spirit, and that feeling is never going to go away, right? She's going to be with me for the rest of my life. So if you do happen to lose some of a relationship, a family member, whatever it is, they're going to be with you in some form or another, even if it's not the traditional physical form. When we tune in, I think we can hear them. So hang in there, friend. Ani is here. What's up, Ani? Says, think of it like this, Jennifer. Overcoming square means Mars is stronger in an arm wrestling match with the eclipse. It can impose its influence. That is a great metaphor. I like that. Yeah, it's it's the stronger arm wrestling arm, right? It's the I'm trying to think of an arm wrestling dude. I can't. I got into watching weird arm wrestling videos a few years ago, but there's this Canadian guy that is he was a Canadian Air Force dude, and he was this incredible arm wrestler. But I digress. but yes, he's Mars in this case. Ani says it's the nature of relationship by whole sign house. Yes. Okay, so let's talk about the Libra 2 just a little bit more. So here you see a slide from my Libra Decans webinar. It's on sale, 20% off. Find that in the store on spencermichaud.com. There's 2 different places to find my material. You can find pre-recorded webinars in the store button, okay? These Decan webinars and the Stars and Cards webinar. Eventually, the Dignity and Devotion Planet webinars will be for sale there. But you can sign up for the live classes that have yet to be done on the Book Now button under classes. So if you want to sign up for the Dignity and Devotion webinars, sign up at the Book Now button. You can also sign up for the Decan walk or the Hobbit class there as well. There was a little bit of confusion with that at one point, but they're two different sections. And that painted turtle says, true, when my mother passed, we became closer than ever. Yeah, I always get those butterfly wings. Absolutely. Nice to see you, Anna. Yes, you're better late than never, right? Well, no, you're just here. You're here when you're here. So we talk about this Libra 2 Decan. And here we see one of the scary Decan cards in the tarot. This is the Three of Swords, where we have a heart being pierced by three swords with storm clouds around it. And yes, it can represent heartbreak, right? It can represent sorrow. It's called the Lord of Sorrow. But Austin Coppock, in his beautiful book, 36 Faces, talks about it as two links in a chain. And this refers to the commitments that we make, the things that we're bound to because of Saturn's exaltation in Libra. But this is a Saturn-ruled sign. This is probably one of the most Saturnian decans in the entire zodiac because it's the exaltation of Saturn in Libra, and it is a Saturn-ruled face of that sign. So Saturn can bring us sorrow, can bring us pain, it can bring us depression, it can bring us decay, but it can also bring us commitments. It can bring us obligations. It can bring us satisfaction in doing what is required of us as well. A lot of times I've heard stories of this card coming up for a marriage reading. And at first they're like, oh no, Three of Swords, but it's actually a positive card in a marriage reading because it shows that there is this commitment, that these vows are being honored between two people. So oaths and contracts, like a spirit of this decade, traditionally in the 36 areas of the zodiac, they call it Kairos, which is the opportune moment. But Austin takes a different take in his book. He talks a lot about Horkos. And Horkos was a spirit that was the god of oaths and contracts. So this is where we're getting some of that binding from Saturn and from Horkos. So duties and commitments, lasting agreements, obligations, unifying separate parties, bringing things together. We have a Saturn-ruled face in a Venus-ruled sign. So we're bringing things together, Venus, and binding them, Saturn. It's sort of like the One Ring. One ring to bind them, 9 rings to find them, and one ring in the darkness bind them. I'm butchering that quote, I apologize, but I have a number of Lord of the Rings references just floating around in my brain lately. Oh, boy, I'm gonna sit down with the Rings of Power tonight and watch episode 5. And I've been reading, background material on The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, getting super excited about that. Please join me for that book club. It's gonna be super fun. We've got some cool people signed up for that are gonna bring some really unique perspectives. Keeping and breaking a promise, though. Marriages, business partnerships, vows to the self. It's not just vows that we make to other people. What commitments have we made to ourselves that we want to honor? Some of those are the most important things to honor. When we feel like we can trust ourselves, we can move through the universe with much more grace than when we don't trust ourselves and when we lack commitment to our own ideals, values, etc. So questions you could ask yourself based on the Libra 2 placement. What is required of you? Just getting an awareness of what the requirements are is the first step to honoring them. What are your obligations? What are the things that you have to do? This is what Saturn brings us. Things we have to do that we might not necessarily always want to, but we've got to do it, right? We've got to be mature to do it. Does this agreement work for both parties? I think that this part of Libra is an opportunity to negotiate the terms of the deal. So there could be the beginning of negotiations at this eclipse as well. This to me is think about renegotiating debt or something like that. Because of the South Node's influence, this is something that we have from the past that we have to deal with moving forward. So you may have some debt to an entity. Could be a material debt. It could be an emotional, physical debt that you're having to work through, that you're having to recommit to, or you could renegotiate the terms of that deal. What promises have you made to others and to yourself? The aforementioned oaths and agreements that we were talking about. How can you negotiate a win-win situation? This is what Libra would prefer to do, win-win situations. Its opposite Aries is sort of like, hey, I'm going to win and, screw you. But Libra is trying to become aware of the other perspective so that we can find a way to work in harmony with each other. So how can you negotiate a win-win situation? And then finally, what are the consequences of breaking your vow? Saturn is a planet of nemesis, remember. And nemesis punishes us if we break our vows. It brings us difficulties if we're not true to ourselves and to others. This decking can be very tough if we're going around and just being loosey-goosey about our commitments. That's when we experience the true negative nature of this decking. So try to commit to things that you can follow through on. Try not to get distracted by shiny things as well. There's also a fixed star in this decking called Algarab, which is associated with Corvus the crow, who had a divine mission to fill the sacred cup of Apollo, but failed to do so because he got distracted by shiny earthly delights. So being aware of those distractions is very important, and how do we eliminate them? Another South Node action potentially. Okay, so this is our Libra 2 part of this, and we're going to go over and look at Scorpio and look at what Venus might be providing in more depth here. And I've got some nice comments I want to check in on. It says, Payne Terrell says, no earth matters really pull a past person's spirit back from being there with you when you need it the most. Yeah, I love it, right? I think that I definitely have felt my mom's presence when I've needed her. And, there's so many different ways to view life, the afterlife. It's a great mystery. But I do definitely think that it's something that I don't have the market cornered on yet because I haven't died yet. But I do have a curiosity, and I don't have the certainty that there's nothing. I don't have the certainty that there's something, but I definitely feel the presence of something, and I think that gives me comfort. All right. Rachel says, your mom lives with you and through you, Spencer. I hope so. I'm trying to carry on her legacy too. She was a gardener. She had a beautiful garden, and she was a preschool teacher who had a lot of, just was an excellent teacher and communicator, brought a lot of comfort to her community. She was a great communicator. She was a reader. She was somebody that would check out 10 books from the library, read them all in a week, and then go get 10 more. So my love of reading, of hoarding books, probably comes from her. But she just always had a really positive outlook on life, too. She was a Gemini sun. She was a Libra rising. So, she's getting an eclipse in her first house posthumously here. And, Pisces moon, Gemini sun. She had a number of planets in Cancer too. I believe she had Mars and Venus in Cancer. So no wonder she's visiting me in my memory this eclipse. It's really her chart's really getting activated. So appreciate that, Rachel. Rachel says, you're reminding me to be really present for our experiences, especially the ordinary happy ones, because they're fleeting. That's always a great reminder, Rachel. Live in that moment because it's changing and it's not going to be here forever. Appreciate the people in your life. Painted Charles says, speaking of Lord of the Rings, I got the annotations copy and pencil drawings book of the Hobbit world. I'm ready to dive in. All right. Excellent. I'm super excited. Yeah, I have a version of the Hobbit illustrated by the author, which is super cool. And I have a stack of books that are like essays on Tolkien, essays on the influences of mythology. I have the recipes from the world of Tolkien. If we want to cook some second breakfast or some lambus bread or something, we've got recipe books. I've got this beautiful book from Becca Tarnas, which is a reader's guide to the Lord of the Rings. I'm all in. So I'm really looking forward to going on that journey with all of you. All right, Jennifer says, Venus will be conjoined by Neptune and Scorpio, trine by Jupiter and Pisces. Okay, so that is a good transition, Jennifer, for us talking about Venus in Scorpio. a little bit more. So here's our host, Venus in Scorpio 2. It's in aversion to this eclipse. Scorpio 2 is interesting. Even though it's in aversion, I do think we're going to have themes that are going to be flowing from this Venus. We may not see it directly. It may be behind the scenes. We may not be super aware of it, but it's there. This decan is associated with the Six of Cups. And I've seen various Decanic authors like Susie Chang of the 36 Secrets book talk about this as the sepia tone photograph decan. It is a solar decan in a Mars sign that's associated with letting go. But there is this nostalgia quality with this decan, the pain of return. I got a face full of that yesterday, the pain of returning to these past experiences and feeling their lack, but also feeling the joy that I experienced in that. So there could be something returning from our past, or we're just having to distill essence from it. Austin's book calls this mutual distillation, circuits of exchange, where we are able to take two people's energy and be able to extract what we need to learn from that before letting it go. That's important. So becoming very intimate with something so that we can let it go. So distillation, emotional intimacy, nostalgia, shining light on the darkness, the golden hour, achemical transformation, all themes of Scorpio 2. So you could ask yourself these questions of Venus's influence on this particular place, this particular eclipse. Is this combination healthy or toxic? These are questions that are important to ask. Is giving and receiving balanced? And then if it isn't, maybe just dealing with it, right? Yes, you can renegotiate the deal, but releasing our anger around it so that we can have a positive conversation about it. How can you distill experience back into essence? Ooh, that's interesting. I love that. How can you take what you've learned and then bring it into the next experience? What wants to be born under duress? That is a direct reference to the daimon or spirit in this decan, Leto. Leto was the parent of Apollo and Artemis, and she was given no safe resting place because she was a consort, I believe, of Zeus. And Hera was pissed about it. Hera was like, I'm tired of you messing around, Zeus. I'm not going to let your paramour have any rest or give birth in any safe space. So she sent this giant python after Leto, and eventually chased her to this island, which happened to be her sister in island form, who had jumped off a cliff after being pursued by Zeus on some other form, and her sister gave her a safe space, a safe refuge. So I have often seen that finding a safe island from our siblings or from an extended family member are themes of this decan. So that could be something that comes up as well. We might feel like we don't have a safe space because of Mars's. I could think of Mars in Cancer as maybe the python chasing us, right? Like our metaphor of being chased down from behind. Lean on those sibling type relationships, those extended family relationships. There may be safe haven available for you in that situation. So that's our Leto part of this. So what wants to be born under duress? And she eventually did give birth to the sun and the moon, so there's beauty about being able to still create even in very difficult circumstances. Are you holding on to the past? This is another glamorizing the past decan. I really truly believe that the scorpionic energy is one of compost. It is identifying the forms that are just in decay, that aren't bringing us vitality, and returning them to the earth. Much of astrological themes are based on northern hemisphere seasonal light relationships, and this is the time of year when we let go of those old forms so that the earth can have vitality in the future seasons. And then finally, are the memories that you're experiencing bringing you pleasure or pain? Sometimes we hold on so tightly to memories that they can
immobilize us. So it is important to honor those who have come in the past. It is important to spend some time with our ancestors every once in a while. But if that memory is making it difficult to function in your present, this is an opportunity potentially to have a more healthy relationship to those memories. All right. Rachel says, your mom sounds like a wonderful person, and yes, you're very much shining her light here. Oh, I appreciate that, Rachel. She was a cool person. We had a difficult start. Like, she had some trauma that she was going through, and there was a time period where she wasn't in my life when I was very young, but she came back in and did a lot of really amazing supportive things for me in my adulthood as well, that I think she more than made up or atoned for her youthful challenges. And yeah, I really care about her a lot, and I miss her a bunch. So it's nice to be able to talk about her and keep her legacy going. Sometimes that is how we keep people alive, is just by talking about them and remembering them and shining their light, and just like you said, being a version of taking their essence and rippling it out in our own way. All right. Yeah, Painted Turtle says, I love this Decan. It's so dynamic. It is. It's a great Decan. As long as we treat it right, right? All right, let's keep moving here. So what I would like to do is let's go back to our chart, and we're going to take you through very briefly sort of the week or two after the eclipse to see how it might potentially unfold. Now, I did a more deep dive on these transits during the Astrology of October. So if you want a deeper dive on that, go back to the last video that I did, the Astrology of October, and you can kind of run through these. But this, in the context of this eclipse, let's talk about how this might unfold. Now, one of the things that we didn't talk about here yet was that Venus is going to be applying to a trine to Saturn retrograde, and it is going to become exact on October the 4th, which is 2 days after the eclipse. So a lot of our memories are going to be meeting with Saturn in Pisces too. A lot of our, understanding our obligations from the past. I would also caution you to be realistic about your abilities when you're taking on these new obligations. Saturn is showing us our limitations. Saturn is showing us our limitations in areas that sometimes we may overestimate our abilities to bring something from our imagination into reality. So if that is the case, be very careful of that moving forward as this eclipse unfolds. Now, we also will have the first aspect of the moon, as you can see in the outer ring here, is going to be the trine from the Scorpio moon in that second decan to Saturn retrograde as well. So really igniting those themes that we just talked about in Scorpio 2 and helping us to come to terms with our limitations around returning, around nostalgia, around merging with others in those circuits of exchange. Again, we need to identify if the relationships where we are deeply enmeshed are healthy or not. Like, oftentimes we get really caught up in these relationships, and it takes some real awareness and objectivity to realize when we may be feeding each other's bad habits. Not every relationship like that is feeding bad habits, but many of them are. Sometimes we encourage each other towards good habits. I hope that's what we're doing here with our live stream and like our exchanges, our circuits of exchange here. But it is important to be able to identify when we are getting into a situation that isn't good for us. Okay, so this is an awareness we might have as well. You could see that the moon is also going to be conjoining Venus shortly after it makes the trine from Saturn. So coming face to face with the Saturnian limitations is going to transfer some light from that awareness to Venus in that second decan. Venus is going to be at 15 degrees of Scorpio. I believe that there's a fixed star there called Zubin El Janubi, or Zubin El Shamal. Let me make sure about this. It's right around that area, and I'll show you that because I think that that's pretty interesting. So there's Alfeka that we talked about, the price of power. There's Zubin El Janubi, yeah. So this is called insufficient price. It's about paying your dues. It's justice that is difficult, right? Where things may not seem fair. We have to do the hard work, and there's some volunteerism that is associated with these placements. So maybe there's something where you're feeling like you need to volunteer. Zubin El Shamali is sufficient price, right? Leniency, mild justice and mercy, fulfilled obligations. So we may become aware of the obligations that are unfulfilled, right? And we have to try not to get too upset about it. So there's some extra little tidbits from the decans of Scorpio. And again, I go into that in much greater detail in the webinars that you can purchase on my store link at spencermichaud.com. So that first aspect, Mars trining Saturn, coming to terms with limitations, the limitations of our memories, the limitations of idealization of the past, the limitations of our emotional bonds with others. And then we have Mars moving into its retrograde shadow on the 5th. So we'll look at the outside is going to show us this this time period that we're going to be looking at. So here's Mars. We've got the inner circle is going to be the new moon eclipse. We'll keep that in the inner circle, and we'll see how things will unfold. So here's Mars at 17 degrees of Cancer entering the retrograde shadow. Of course, Mars is going to be retrograding on December the 6th at 6 degrees of Leo and moving all the way back to 17 degrees Cancer and moving direct again, I believe, in February. Yeah, it's going to move back into Cancer on January 6th, if I'm remembering this correctly. And then it's going to station direct, I believe, on February the 23rd. Yeah, I have them written down here. So it's going to move into Leo on the 3rd of November. It's going to station retrograde on the 6th of December at 6 degrees of Leo. It is going to station retrograde back into Cancer on January the 6th. And then it's going to station direct at 17 degrees of Cancer on the 23rd of February. And finally leave Cancer for good for this cycle on April the 18th as it moves into Leo. So this is just potentially the beginning of a much longer journey that we may have to experience. So pay attention to what happens if there's conflicts that come up around the 5th of October, because we're probably going to have to be dealing with this for the next few months. That will lead us to the 6th, where we have Mercury squaring Mars. So here is Mercury squared with Mars. Okay, Mars is in the overcoming position, as we have described. So here is Mars making that square with Mercury on October the 6th. And this could be a difficult conversation about our obligations, about what is fair, a difficult contractual negotiation happening around this period of time. Just be very careful about how you communicate with others. Try not to let your temper get the best of you. I would say this type of Mars-Mercury square could lead to emotional expressions when we need intellectual objectivity. I would also say that this is a ripe placement combination for passive aggressiveness in negotiations. So if you're not getting what you want, don't disconnect and go pout in your corner or go into your emotional cave like a lot of us Cancers can do. Stay engaged. Try to be as direct as you can. Ask for what you need in a kind way, right? If you're brooding on things and if you're trying to maintain peace through social graces and not dealing with the issue that you need to deal with, that can lead to a much more difficult experience later. So I do think being direct, especially with Cancer and Mars and Cancer, we have to be very careful of being indirect in our conflicts. This is the type of thing where if, like, let's say you have an argument and you don't resolve it in the moment, and then you go like brood about it or like talk mess about someone behind their back or something like that, and then you're dealing with everybody but the problem. Okay, so be very careful of that. And I've been guilty of this. That's one thing I've been really working on, is not getting upset and then trying to create chaos behind the scenes, being much more upfront about things if I'm upset. Like I don't really like head-on confrontation, and I have to be careful about that. And we all have to be careful about that with Mars in the overcoming square to Mercury. On the 8th, though, this is probably one of the better days, I think, of the month, is on October the 8th, we have a number of trines. So here we have the trine between Venus and Mars, okay? And then we also have a trine between Mercury and Jupiter. So after the difficult conversation, it might lead to some positive actions. It might lead to the ability to act upon something with a partner after clarifying terms. Mercury in the third decan of Libra talks about making the necessary adjustments to increase that which is lacking and decreasing that which is excessive. It is about maintenance. And we may be able to make adjustments to too many thoughts, too many options with Mercury trining Jupiter from Libra to Gemini. So this could be a really productive day after a series of potentially difficult days. So embrace this small oasis within the month, because I think it is one of the more positive points. And then we have Jupiter stationing retrograde on the 9th. So this is Jupiter moving backwards, or appearing to move backwards at 21 degrees of Gemini. And it is going to be retrograde. I believe, let's see. Let's look up when it's going to station direct again. February 4th. So we've got February 4th. So October the 9th to February 4th, Jupiter will be retrograde from 21 degrees of Gemini to 11 degrees of Gemini. So keep in mind, we may be reconsidering a choice that we've made. This decan of Gemini tends to see things kind of in black and white. There can be ultimatums that we can make. There's a spirit in that decan called Praxidike, which is sort of like the exactor of justice. That's why Austin Cobbett calls it the executioner's sword. It's the decan where one twin has to die so that the other can live. But we may be reconsidering something that we made, a choice that we made, some idea that we executed or something like that for the few months ahead. We have 4 months, basically 3 or 4 months, to reconsider any ultimatums that we made, any lines in the sand that we have drawn. So be aware of that on the 9th. And then we have our first quarter moon. This is on the 10th. So here we have the first quarter moon. This is the moon at 17 degrees of Capricorn and the sun at 17 degrees of Libra. So first quarter moons, and you'll learn more about the phases of the moon on our first planetary Dignity and Devotion webinar with Tanya Andrews of Third Coast Mojo. We're going to be talking about the Dane Rudyard, Demetra George moon phases. This is a crisis point. This is a point where we're trying to bring something into manifestation. Waxing moon phases are about bringing something into being. And this could be the challenge of bringing something into physical being and working with others on an ambitious project. We also have the moon T-squaring that day with Mars. So we may be working with others, trying to craft an ambitious project of some sort, but our domestic situations may be putting extra pressure on that. So what I will suggest with this first quarter moon, try not to get too fixated on perfection. Try not to be too ambitious with what you are trying to create. There's hubris associated with the second decan of Capricorn that can lead us to try to do too much. So scale back a little bit if you can. Leave some space for the domestic challenges that you're going through. And that can lead to better outcomes because you're not going to try to do too much on the 10th here. And then we move towards the 14th. And we have the a number of, this is another difficult day, October the 14th. So the sun is going to be squaring Mars. So here's the sun at 21 Libra and Mars at 21 Cancer. And Venus is going to be opposite Uranus. So here is Venus at 26 Taurus, opposite Uranus at 26 Taurus. I'm sorry, Venus is at 26 Scorpio, opposite Uranus at 26 Taurus. So our equilibrium is disturbed a little bit by potential excess or scarcity. This is what happens when we have Mars moving into the third 10-degree section of Cancer. There are themes of scarcity versus surplus that are going on. And when we have Venus opposing Uranus on that day, we may be glamorizing old forms that no longer bring us vitality, and we're having to atone for previous mistakes. So the combination of these could make for a little bit of a sticky day at the middle of the month. And this is helping us to build towards our full moon in Aries on the 17th. So here's that full moon. Here's the full moon of this particular eclipse. It's not actually an eclipse. So it is the node is far enough away that it is not going to technically be an eclipse. But this full moon is going to be in the third decan of Aries. That 10-degree section is associated with charisma, with eros, with winning over a hostile crowd through our sense of humor, through our charisma, through our social grace. So to restore balance and equilibrium, with Mars and this, T-squaring this moon, we may have to lean on some of our social graces. We can't just power our way through. We can't just force our way through. And that's going to be part of how this story unfolds. And then, after this, we're going to have the same day. I'll give you just some more hope here. Venus is going to move out of her exile and into Sagittarius. So that should lighten the mood a little bit. So if we can get through to the 18th, I think we're going to start seeing things start to move forward again and alleviate. So hang in there. We'll get it. And I will talk more about the full moon in Aries 3 in the weeks ahead. So we can have a whole live stream on that and talk it all out. All right, my friends. So that is what I have for you for the astrology. I do have an I-Ching and an animal for you for this particular lunation. So let's take a look at that. The hexagram I have for you is number 16. And it translates to enthusiasm. Hexagram 16 is, let's see here. I've got some notes on this for you. Translates to enthusiasm, inspiring, broadcasting, undertaking, preparing for something, providing for something, planning ahead, enjoyment, delight. So this is where we're leaning into preparation for future action. Getting enthusiastic about moving forward. It's asking you to make proper arrangements early on and provide for things in advance so that you can feel free to relax and enjoy the fruits of your labor later without concern or guilt. You may justifiably take delight in what you have put in place and set in motion. Okay? So this is a good start, right? And this is from Jack Balkin's The Laws of Change, my favorite translation. He also says, conversely, if you're trapped in inertia, indolence, or deluded satisfaction, you cannot make plans for the future. To take precautions and to work for the future, a person needs to be stimulated and motivated. This is why preparation is the flip side of enthusiasm. Okay, so this duality, getting ourselves moving, getting our asses off the couch and getting signed up for your classes, getting your registration process completed if you've already signed up. I'm sorry, I'm just joking with a few of you. But yeah, there is opportunities for us, for joining in, for working with others. And there is one changing line in this hexagram. It says, making one's armor solid as a rock. One does not let a whole day pass. Perseverance brings good fortune. So Jack goes on to say, it is a great virtue to be able to see the seeds of change in any situation and respond to them without delay. To achieve this, you must possess great clarity of mind. Do not be swept up by other people's fads or enthusiasms. Maintain your integrity and rely on your own judgment. The text advises you that you must make your armor as solid as a rock. This means that you are solid and reliable. You stick to your principles and do not allow yourself to be misled by the illusions that inevitably accompany the latest crazes or fashions. You neither flatter those above you nor disdain those beneath you. When the first signs of change appear, take appropriate action immediately, regardless of what others may think or conventional wisdom says. When it is time to go forward, go forward. When it is time to withdraw, withdraw. As the text says, do not let a whole day pass. If you persevere in this action, you will enjoy abundant good fortune. So it's basically saying take action. You know, if there's a crisis that comes up, do what needs to be done. Don't hem and haw over it. If there's an obligation that you have to step up and commit to, you better get to it, right? Sometimes we don't have time to delay. And this finally is changing to hexagram number 40, which is the south node incarnate in I-Ching form. Deliverance, release, relief, separation, removal, loosening the knot, untying, the end of obstruction, end of hardships, redemption, forgiveness, letting go of the past. That's important, forgiveness, right? Maybe we need to forgive people in our relationships. So this is the thunderstorm that releases the tension. If any of you have, most of you have probably experienced a thunderstorm. You feel that tension in the air. And this is when finally the storm breaks and we're like, I was just feeling this buildup. And this can really be cleansing. Rain is cleansing. Storms are cleansing. This might be the cleansing storm that helps us release us from bondages, from obligations that maybe weren't healthy for us as well. So think about how we can make changes to our agreements and obligations moving forward with this hexagram here. All right, Mariana says, what I-Ching translator is the one that you named? The one that I like the best is The Laws of Change by Jack M. Balkin, who is a Yale professor, who is an excellent, excellent translator of these texts. I use an app called the I-Ching, Y-I-J-I-N-G. I think it's an iPhone app. That's where I do my readings because it gives me access to like 10 or 11 different translations that I can flip between to get the essence of it. But my favorite one is Jack Balkin. And I have his physical book. I have like all the books. It's just in a nice form to have it there. But his book is really incredible. And I really enjoy utilizing that on the channel. All right. So I have one more thing for you, friends. It's an animal spirit to help guide us through this. And the animal that I got was the meerkat. This is a new one. We haven't had the meerkat on the channel. It's very interesting. The meerkat, first of all, it symbolizes the support of family and friends. Sound familiar with the themes we've been talking about today? They live in communities. I couldn't just put one picture of one meerkat because that wouldn't be honest. They live for each other. They have sentinels that keep watch for predators while the others are doing whatever in the burrow, etc. So this animal can teach us about being alert to danger, to being aware of our surroundings, to looking out for one another, okay, to like supporting one another. They have safety in numbers. And I think that this is a message of this eclipse is we need community to be able to get through the challenging times. Like I said, I was watching the people in Florida band together with their neighbors. Like Uncle Pappy was talking about this on Instagram. He lives in Florida. He was like, this storm, it shows us that no matter what our backgrounds are, what our political views, etc., in times of crisis, we can support each other through our shared humanity. And I think this is super important message of Meerkat. It asks you to be alert to danger. It has some immunity to venoms. I think that's really important. If we feel attacked from a place where we usually would feel security, how do we become resistant to that? How do we react or not react to a barb or something of that nature? How do we become immune to some of that poison? How do we become immune to the rhetoric that we hear leading up to an election season in America, where we don't add to it and we don't allow ourselves to be manipulated by people that want to create fear and division? I think that's huge. That's a huge part of this. The forces that be want to scare you into their vote. And I think that it's really important to resist that with the greater part of your being, I think, and support each other. No political candidate can cause you to love or hate your neighbor. That's a choice that you make individually. And I think this is something that as we get closer and closer to pivotal changes, that we have to remember that even more deeply. So this is talking about working together with a group, expanding your vision, being able to see long range. They try to get a higher vantage point to look around to see if they are in danger or not, and getting out of harm's way if you need to. It can show you how to push past the point of exhaustion as well. They have an amazing stamina. They draw heat into their body through a small patch of black skin that covers their belly. So when it stands up and faces the sun, it absorbs some of that energy. So how do we absorb some sunshine in our life, especially in the dark season when the sun is at its lowest, astrological dignity point in its fall? Not to say it's lowest in the sky, that's the winter solstice, but it's a difficult place for the sun. So how do we get that warmth that we desire? We have to create it for ourselves and for each other. And I think the meerkat can teach us that as well. All right, my friends, that's what I've got for you. And yes, painted turtle, meerkats, they are awesome. It is an incredible little spirit animal for us this time around. So thank you so much, friends. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, everybody that has been contributing in the chat here today. Really appreciate you. Thank you for the super chats. Do me a huge favor. If you are on the fence about signing up for the classes, just reach out to me. If you need some sort of payment plan, we can break it up however you want. If you need a little bit of a discount, reach out. I'm happy to work with you. I just would love to be able to work with all of you in whatever capacity you feel comfortable in. Again, we really have a lot of fun in these classes. We learn a lot. We witness each other's journey. We support one another. It's a great meerkat type of environment where we're looking out for one another. And there's so many different ways to engage through a much longer term journey, a more short term journey, and then, one that may be more just a little bit more lighthearted when we're doing the guided group study. I still think that there's opportunities for depth within our group study, but we're going to try to have as much fun as possible with it as we go along on the journey. So reach out, spencermichaudastrology@gmail.com if you're interested in that. And of course, there's a free bonus Mythos natal reading if you sign up for the bundle. All right, my friends, that's what I've got for you. Hang in there. Do me a huge favor. Like and subscribe to the channel. If you can, turn on the notification bell. Visit me at spencermichaux.com and go subscribe to me on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at Spencer Michaud. I've been posting a lot of nature and Lord of the Rings memes lately, humor, and some beautiful things I'm witnessing in nature. There was a beautiful rainbow cuttlefish that I posted the other day that was just amazing. And I try to post some inspiring things about how people are taking care of their environments and doing good out in the world too. So if you need a boost, go follow me over on Instagram. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much, friends. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jennifer. Mariana says this live's been so warming and clarifying. I missed that. Thank you, Spence. Thank you, Mariana. And hang in there over there in Germany. I know there's good for you to be able to do wherever you're at, my friend. Thank you, Painted Turtle. Go check your email, finish the registration process. But I'm so looking forward to working with you, Lauren. It's going to be so much fun. Dr. T says, much love. I am as you are. You are as I am. I am love, and I am all that is. I exist. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. Thank you, friend, for blessing us with that beautiful phrase there. Tracy, have a lovely day, evening, and all. Thank you, Jennifer. Remember, friends, so much easier to navigate the changes in our life through kindness. Okay, so be kind to one another, but be kind to yourself. You're not going to be perfect every single day. You're not going to be at your best every day. Just do the best that you can in the moment and try to stay in that moment. Okay, yeah, Rachel's going to join us for some classes, right? Awesome. You're so welcome, Rachel. I hope to connect with you on that regard. Painted Turtle says the I-Ching said to register Meerkat, said my community is there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, friends. Okay, move through these changes with grace, with kindness, with balance. This too shall pass, and we'll get through it together, okay? We'll see you the next time. Thank you for being with me here today, and we'll see you the next time, friends. Have a good one. Peace.